Welcome to the ATA Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Baird. Each month on the podcast, we bring you news and insights from the American Translators Association. We look at what's happening at ATA, explore the benefits of membership, and discuss the translation and interpreting professions. You know, the T&I industry is changing rapidly. We hope this podcast will help you keep up with it. ATA was founded over 60 years ago to advance the translation and interpreting professions and foster the professional development of individual translators and interpreters. We have nearly 10,000 members in some 100 countries. If you'd like to know more about ATA, we'll have some information for you at the end of the show. And you'll also find links in the notes. All right, let's start off with a few quick announcements.
Hey there, translators and interpreters. It's that time of the year again. You can now renew your ATA membership for 2022 online. Whether you're an independent contractor, an in-house linguist, or a language services company owner, ATA gives you the marketing, education, and networking opportunities you need to succeed. Log on today to renew or begin your membership and take advantage of the benefits of belonging to the world's biggest association of translators and interpreters. Speaking of member benefits, did you know that ATA members get 2 free webinars every month? That's right. Members get access to a monthly freebie from ATA's library of over 150 webinars, and ATA members can join each new edition of the popular Back to Business Basics webinar series for free and watch recordings on demand. But that's not all. ATA members save 25% off the registration price of all ATA webinars and workshops. And finally, a quick update from ATA's Advocacy Committee. In November, ATA issued an open call to action urging the entertainment industry to offer fair and equitable pay and working conditions for language professionals. The call was in response to recent discussions in the press and on social media claiming that there is a shortage of professional subtitlers and translators. The letter explains that there is no shortage, but instead a disconnect between the value of this skilled work and the pay offered. We're also happy to report that in response to an earlier advocacy campaign in Pennsylvania by the Tri-State Language Access Coalition that ATA supported, the Pennsylvania courts have reversed their plans to reduce pay for remote simultaneous interpreting and instead have adopted new compensation standards to improve the quality and professionalism of language services in the justice system. For more on each of these announcements, look for the links in today's show notes.
All right, we're back. I'm very pleased to welcome Jeff Kobe back to the podcast today. Jeff is a freelance professional translator certified in German to English and Dutch to English. He also teaches translation at Kent State University in Ohio. He currently serves as president of the American Foundation for Translation and Interpretation. Jeff has been a member of ATA since 1994. An active volunteer, he serves as a German to English certification grader and has also chaired the certification committee. He also served on the ATA board for 6 years. Jeff, welcome back to the podcast, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Matt. I'm really glad to be here on behalf of AFTI.
Right on. Well, let's get right into it. My first question, very basic. Tell us, what is the American Foundation for Translation and Interpretation?
Well, we call it AFTI for short, is a nonprofit foundation which is fully controlled by ATA. It's a nonprofit that allows ATA to do things that in its own person as a business association it can't do. So ATA is charitable activities, education, research. If we ever have enough money to fund research, we'll do that too. So we were founded to be supporting the present and promoting the future of translation and interpreting in a way that's affiliated with ATA.
All right. When was it founded? And maybe you could tell us a brief backstory of why it was founded.
Well, it was founded in 1997. And this is actually before I was involved with AFTI. But at the time, there was a major donation by a past president that created the foundation. And at the time, there was some thought of a physical museum that some people had donated their terminology resources on 3x5 cards. And so part of the early history of the association was, storing these historic translation materials and thinking about how would we make a museum out of them and so forth. The digital revolution sort of put the kibosh on that plan. So AFD then was focusing, or shifted its focus more to the awards and scholarships that we are focusing on today.
That's really interesting. I did not know that. Now, how is the foundation funded today?
Well, it's funded solely by donations. We have always had a check-off little box on the membership form for renewals, and that's our most loyal stream of funding. Is some people check off and add a little bit to their membership renewal, and otherwise donations that have come in often for a specific prize or award. When someone has passed away, there will be a fundraiser or someone donates. Sometimes it's a bequest, and that creates a named award, and then other people sometimes feel compelled to donate to that. But it's all donations and fundraising.
Can you explain that for ATA members a little more? Some who might not be familiar with what you just mentioned, that they can donate at the time they renew their membership, correct? Or even start a new membership.
That's correct. In fact, I just got my own renewal form yesterday in the mail. And if you renew on paper, there is on the bottom right-hand side of the front page, there's a place that says AFD donation. So that's a place where you can check off as you do your renewal, check the box and add a little bit of a sum to your renewal, and that goes straight to AFD to support student scholarships. If you're renewing online, there's also an opportunity there to add an amount for AFD and help support our programs. So that's the sort of the easy way. But we, of course, also accept donations at any time. There's a donate link on afdi.org. So afti.org has a donate today button that you can click on.
Right on. Now, I understand this year at AT's annual conference in Minneapolis, you guys did something new in the way of encouraging people to donate. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a fun thing. Actually, it goes back to ATA's conference in Palm Springs when a group of us were sitting around, and we had just done our very first student scholarship awards. And I was saying I would really like to make it possible to give more awards, possibly bigger awards, to cover the cost of attending the conference. And a group of us were sitting around and brainstorming, various things that we could do, including, getting somebody to dress in a tuxedo if we raised enough money, that kind of thing. So we were blowing around several ideas, and one of our new directors, Ali Bryant, came up with the idea of a game night. Now, with the pandemic, we couldn't do anything last year, but this year in Minneapolis, we were able, Ali, really, we have to give credit to Ali Bryant for organizing a game night at a conference where, because of the pandemic and social distancing, we were not, or ATA did not do a dance. So Saturday night, it was a quiet night, and we had our game night. We invited everyone to come. We had good attendance, a big room, actually the room where we were normally having breakfast. They gave us that room. A lot of tables, a lot of board games, people playing giant Jenga on the rug, and Duck, Duck, Goose. I mean, where people really got into the games. And right, it was, watching a bunch of translators run around in circles shrieking was a lot of fun. And it was a donation event, right? We asked for $10 at the door. You could pay cash, you could give us a check, or you could click on your phone and click on that donate today link. And so it was very easy. And we were really pleased that I think we got more than more than 10% of our attendance, which was very small in Minneapolis this year, of course, more than 10% of the people came. We had a lot of groups, we had a lot of door prizes, and we raised enough money by donations to fund an additional student scholarship for next year.
That is excellent. Congratulations. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing that at future conferences. Now, speaking of the scholarships and the awards, you mentioned that, this is the way AFTE pursues its objective. So let's talk about what kinds of awards and scholarships AFTE offers. Can you give us a brief summary of what you have?
Sure. We have several awards that have been around for several years. The Alicia Gordon Award for Word Artistry and Translation, the ATA Student Translation Award, the Marion S. Greenfield Financial Translation Presentation Award, and the S. Edmond Berger Prize in Excellence in Scientific and Technical Translation. So those are awards that can be applied for and won in certain years. And then we have a scholarship program, which we've renamed recently. It's the AFTE Scholarships for First-Time Attendees to the ATA Conference.
Okay, I'd like to share a little bit more about each one of these awards and the scholarship for our listeners. So how about we start with the Alicia Gordon Award? Can you tell us what that's all about?
Sure. Alicia Gordon was a translator who was well known for being very creative in arriving at solutions to some of those really thorny translation problems. And so when she passed away, that award was established by a generous grant by Alicia's sister, Dr. Jane Gordon. And so it's about applying, if you have one that you thought, oh, I was really good at that, or somebody who did a really good translation, you submit and people look at that and say, that's about solving a translation problem really well.
Interesting. Now, how about the ATA Student Translation Award, which sounds kind of self-explanatory, but tell us about that one.
It kind of is. I mean, it's often we'll get an application that's from a student, but it's been sponsored by a professor who said, hey, you did a really good job at that. And so any student can submit. It's really essentially a translation sample that would be, and in this one, it's a little bit unique in that it's only from a foreign language into English. That's the only thing. We don't go the other direction. And any graduate or undergraduate can apply, and a committee looks at the translation and says, yeah, this is really good. And sometimes they're competitive. Sometimes we have multiple applications.
Right on. Now, next we have the Marion S. Greenfield Financial Translation Presentation Award. Again, pretty self-explanatory, but briefly tell us about that one.
It's kind of a mouthful, isn't it? So this one was established by Marion S. Greenfield, our former ATA president, who was seeing that there weren't enough, or in her opinion, not enough financial translation presentations at the conference. So this one is actually about someone who does a financial translation presentation, a presentation about some aspect of finance or financial translation for the conference. So this is recognizing somebody who's an outstanding presenter who really knows their stuff in financial translation.
No, very good. Now, finally, you have the S. Edmond Berger Prize.
This one is about excellence in scientific and technical translation. Translators can nominate themselves or someone else. Translation companies can say, hey, we've got this great technical translator. It's a cash prize that someone can receive if they're nominated and recognized for this excellence in translation.
All right. Let's turn now to the student scholarships. Tell us a little bit more. You mentioned them earlier, but tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah, the student scholarships, we've figured out, ATA to some extent has done some research on this, said, one of the most important things for people who are entering the profession to make the connection to the profession is to attend the conference. And so we were looking at becoming more active, AFTE taking a greater role in awarding funds. And so in 2019, we established the student scholarship to attend the ATA conference. And this is one where we said, okay, we can't fully fund anyone because the conference is quite expensive, but for a student, an award of even what we're giving them right now, $500 is a pretty substantial chunk, and it can tip the balance, make the difference in making it possible for them to come to the conference. So we looked at some funds that we had that were in our general fund from those annual donations, and some funds that were left over from older awards. We used to have an Edith Losa award that the money was basically used up, so to the point where we couldn't give that award anymore. And so at that point, when someone's donation is used up and there's a few $100s left over, we'll transfer it to other purposes. So we were able to use Edith Losa funds to support our first round of student scholarships. So we were able to award 5 scholarships, bring 5 students to the conference, which made it possible for them to start their career, to network, to really hit the ground running. We have set the eligibility requirements so that we encourage students who are close to graduation, who have just graduated. You can apply if you're earlier in your program, but we're weighting things so that if you're just about to start your career, we want to make it possible for some students to attend the conference right when they're kicking off and going into the profession.
Are there any other eligibility requirements?
Yes, the eligibility is you have to be a student or you have to have been recently graduated. You can be enrolled in any kind of program. So it's a 2-year college, a 4-year college, university, a certificate program, but it has to be related to translation, interpreting, or some related field like terminology management, project management, something like that. And it has to be leading to an actual degree or certificate. Those are really the basic eligibility requirements, and you have to have graduated within 12 months or you're not quite graduated. So this is definitely for people who are right in the program or have just graduated.
Okay, well, let's say there's a student out there listening right now who's now become interested in this and interested in either the scholarship or the student translation award. What should they do next?
Well, I think the first thing they should do is go to afte.org, and there are links there with information about each of those. The student scholarship has a deadline that's in the late spring after graduation. So we look ahead to the fall for the conference. So the deadline there is after your semester. So the easy way is go download the form. Once we put up the form for the 22 conference, which will be in the spring, download the form, work with your professors, fill out the form. What we really think is important is to read the form carefully and answer the essay questions thoughtfully, because we do have a lot of applications for that program. And we read the essays very carefully to say, okay, who's going to benefit the most from this? As for the translation award, there again, the deadline is somewhat later, but again, you're going to be working with a professor, presumably on this. So you want to submit a description of the project, a sample of the translation, and you have to get a letter of support from your faculty member. So you want to do your preparation during the spring semester of whatever year, so you can apply and let us have our time to process everything before the fall.
All right. Thanks for that. Now, how about the other awards? What if I know someone who I think would be a great candidate for one of them? What should I do? And can I nominate them?
That depends on each one. So I think that without getting into the details, essentially, yes, you could nominate someone, but I think it would be wise and kind to actually ask that person if they mind being nominated. And it may be that the nomination has to be going in under their name in some cases. In other cases, you could nominate them, but you for all of our awards, we need a sample. So we need to be able to get that sample from the person who's going to get the award. So you really kind of have to do it in conjunction with the person who you think would be a good candidate. And we would welcome more applications, because sometimes some years we go without making these awards because we haven't gotten any applications.
All right. Good advice, Jeff. Thank you very much. Now, do you have any final words for our listeners today?
Yes, I'd like to thank all of the people who have donated to AFTI in the past. I want to thank everyone who came to our game night and donated to AFTI, making it possible for us to offer an additional scholarship next year. And I also wanted to mention that right now, in these days, I've been working with a new donor who's developing a new program, which we'll be announcing in the next month or so, a new program to award memberships to a certain group. And in that context, this was a person who said, there's something I really want to do. I want to make a difference for ATA, and AFTI is the best vehicle for that. So with a donation of, $5,000 or $10,000, someone can set up their own award, a named award or an award addressing a particular topic or subject or direction or language pair. All of these are possible. In general, it's just a way to give back, a way to make the profession better. And all you have to do, if you're interested in setting up a program like that, is to contact me or contact ATA headquarters.
Great, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. It's been a pleasure as always.
All right, that's a wrap. I'd like to thank everyone who helped produce the show today. Derek Platts mixed and edited the audio. Ben Carl is the voice behind the announcements, and Mary David and Rashawn Paccarel at ATA headquarters provided editorial and technical support. If you learned anything new in today's podcast, I bet there's someone out there who would like to know it too. Don't be stingy. Tell them about the podcast. I've gotten to know so many great podcasts that way. I promise they'll thank you for it. And if you're not an ATA member, listen up. I've been a member for over 20 years. Joining ATA literally launched my freelance career, and I've never looked back. Nowadays, the demand for translators and interpreters is at an all-time high, but finding quality work isn't easy. ATA membership can make the difference. And ATA isn't just for translators and interpreters. Individuals, companies, and organizations can join. We have teachers and professors, hospital administrators, language company owners, technology developers, as well as language companies, universities, hospitals, and government agencies. If you'd like to know more, go to ATA's website, atanet.org. You can also check out past episodes of this podcast where we talk about the benefits of membership and what's currently happening in the association. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Talk to you again soon.